Well, thank you for joining us here at noon. I'm Bobby Fallett. President-elect Donald Trump has not made a public appearance since last week's election, but he has stayed busy working at his Florida estate as he fills out his administration prior to taking office, including South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem as his Homeland Security Secretary. Christian Benavides has more details from West Palm Beach, Florida.
President-elect Donald Trump is moving quickly to fill out his cabinet. He is expected to nominate Florida Senator Marco Rubio for Secretary of State, and he's picked South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem to head up the Department of Homeland Security. Trump selecting Rubio to be the country's top diplomat is a long way from their heated rivalry during the 2016 presidential primaries.
Little Marco Rubio, he's a total disaster.
The two have mended their relationship, and Rubio campaigned hard for Trump this year.
We want to live in an era of peace, and we want to live in an era of strength. We want an America that dreams big again, and for that, we need to elect Donald Trump.
Kristi Noem at the helm of DHS means she'll be working on immigration, but the person reporting directly to the president on his signature issue will be former ICE head Tom Homan, already named border czar.
Noem could face a contentious Senate confirmation after writing in her memoir she killed her untrainable 14-month-old dog.
The reason that this story is in the book because people need to understand who I am and some of those difficult decisions. This was a dangerous animal that was killing livestock and attacking people.
Joining the new Trump administration as National Security Advisor will be Florida Congressman Mike Waltz, a combat-decorated former Green Beret.
Let's get back to signing peace deals on the White House lawn, the Abraham Accords. Let's end this war in Ukraine. Let's pivot to deal with China.
Waltz is one of the most vocal critics of China in Congress. Christian Benavides, CBS News, West Palm Beach, Florida.
Now, Waltz's congressional seat will need to be filled by a special election, which could leave House Republicans down to one seat until that election is held. It is considered a reliably safe Republican district.